What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm one of your hosts, David Gusler, and I am here with our amazing producer slash co-host tonight, Corey Inscoe. Welcome back to the show, buddy. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? I have to say, or I should ask, how are you doing? Then I'll say my thing. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. It's a little late and long in the tooth right now to record a show, but it's okay. We're young whippersnappers. We got this.
I mean, I think I'm going to not sound young, but I just came out of bowling night, so finished up my bowling, so we had to start a little bit later, which makes me sound like I'm 50, but that's fine. It's fine. All I was going to say was I'm really glad we're recording this week and didn't have time for an episode last week because yes. I feel like the tone's going to be very different this week than it would have been last week after
we're winning the league.
Yeah, a pretty miserable week last week, but we have some fun stuff to talk about from Saturday, so that's a good thing.
It's a good thing for sure. So, two questions that are totally not relevant to a soccer podcast.
Of course.
What is your bowling team's name first? Do you have a team name?
Yeah, we're Spare Parts. So a little bit of the backstory is that I just joined this. So I grew up bowling. I bowled in a league before I was married, before kids, so like years ago. And then I randomly found this guy who was like, "Hey, do you want to join our bowling team?" I was like, "Sure." But apparently, they do every season is they just like find like random people. So that's the name Spare Parts. It's just like whoever's like around like needs a team, they just throw them in there. So it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
I like a team name with the story. So that's good. So then the other question. Did you bowl a 300 or no?
So this is going to be a longer answer you probably expect. So 2 weeks ago, I've never bowled one before.
Okay.
I've never even come close to bowling one before. 2 weeks ago, so for non-bowling people, you have to bowl 12 strikes in a row to get a 300, which is a perfect game. I bowled 11 strikes in a row. I've never done it before. And the pressure, man, just absolutely ruined me. And I threw a god-awful ball and got a 6. So I've had a 296. Which is, again, 30 pins better than I've ever gotten before. So I was so close. I'll probably never get close again. That was my moment. And I jerked it. It was terrible. But I'll still take a 296.
I would take a 296 any day of the week. So I don't think I've ever gotten over 200. So I won't take that in any form or fashion. So, but we're not here to talk about bowling. We are here to talk about. No, I mean, we can. I mean, maybe if you do a Big Lebowski reference. No, I'm just checking. So
here we go.
But there's no Matt Swift tonight. I know we've had some scheduling conflicts, so he'll be back here. So don't worry, folks. We didn't kick him out. He is not joining the Spare Parts.
We didn't kick him out yet.
He's not joining the Spare Parts podcast, but he will be here sooner rather than later. But we're going to do a pretty quick and fun episode here. We got some good things to talk about, and then obviously we're coming at the tail end of the season here, Corey, which is
I know
to say. We've only got 2 more home games left, and got a game this weekend, and then I think there's another game away, and I think that's really it. 4 games. So, or 3. I can't even remember right now. But so the most recent game, let's talk about some fun things. Charlotte walked away with a 4-0 win against the New England Revolution, which is, I don't want to say it's payback because we lost to them earlier in the season in a very ugly form and fashion. It was the Salute live show that we did. So I don't think we've done a live show like that again since. So we got scarred for life for that one. But yeah, it's a good feeling to have a 4-0 win at the bank. Yeah,
it really is. And that away loss to New England at the live show, like it just has a bad taste in my mouth this whole time. Especially because it was so early in the season, but we saw the promise of that team and how things were going, and then just a brutal loss there. So like, that's why I keep looking at this as like, okay, yeah, we beat New England. They're the worst team in the East, and da-da-da-da-da. But like, this is a team that beat us early in the season. So to come out and have this kind of match was massive. And honestly, like this, God, did we need this match? Did we need a 4-0 just like offensive showcase of what the attack that we've done, that we've added these pieces, what it can be? And we've needed this for weeks. And, obviously I thought it was going to be in Montreal with my 4-0 prediction. That very much did not come true. Matt Nolan was up there too, and I was hanging out with him a little bit, and he was, before match, he'd heard my 4-0 prediction. He's like, I'm going to say 5-1. But we were both like, this is the match that it all comes together. It just the offense finally clicks, the attack finally clicks, and then boom, here we go. And it did not happen then. It did not happen against Orlando, but finally I feel like we saw it start to click against New England. Again, not a great team, but hey, we saw it finally start to work. And I don't know what happened between Wednesday and Saturday of last week, but whatever they did between those two matches in a very short period of time, please do it every day the rest of the season, because like the difference between what we saw Wednesday away at Orlando and what we saw at home Saturday against New England, it was two different teams, totally different experience.
Yeah, it was and that's what I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit was that yeah, I mean, yeah, we won 4-0. Are you going to win every match 4-0? No. You know, are you always going to be able to play a team down to 10 men at the 60th minute? No.
Right.
So like, but the difference of it is that the way we started that match was just with the shots on goal, with the possession, with the counterattacks, with the chances that were being created. We hadn't seen that for almost like 3 weeks. Like, I mean, Montreal, Orlando, I mean, it's gotten very tight in that 4th to 6th, 7th spot in that MLS table in the East. And the reason it's been so tight is because Charlotte's been unable to score goals and create chances. And we've been kind of waiting for this. Like Karol Swiderski came back in July. We had Austin, then we had Leagues Cup, and then we had a break of Leagues Cup because we exited very quickly. And then we signed, Tim Ream, we signed Pep Biel. We've signed some players here to kind of bring some depth and pieces. And we were all kind of expecting this offensive output sooner. And I don't know if it's confidence and if it was just kind of getting the monkey off their back a little bit of like, hey, like we can do this. And who cares if it's the last place team in the East, New England, and all this stuff like that. Sometimes you need games like that to be able to show and build confidence. And we saw that last year where we went on that little winning streak with Christian Tanzio. Like you win one game like that, all of a sudden it's like, boom, team's got confidence and it's the right time right now because we need to be able to finish strong over the next few weeks before, the season ends, quote unquote, and then playoff seeding happens.
Yeah. I mean, because I think when you look at our form, since June. I mean, we haven't won a match before Saturday. We hadn't won a match since June. It's a small miracle we were still sitting in 7th. Was it 7th place before the match? Like
it was.
How we were still roughly in a similar position from June to Saturday is wild. Like I don't know how we stayed up. I mean, obviously I can look and figure out exactly how, but I mean, it's just like we got incredibly lucky to still be basically where we are in the standings in absolute reaching distance of 4th place. It's not going to be easy by any stretch, but like it's there. It's possible. We got incredibly lucky to have a really horrible run of form there and got through all those growing pains of adding this attack and trying to figure out how this team was going to work together. And now we've seen it. And like you said, it can be contagious. And the schedule is really nice to us moving forward for the next 4 matches. Outside of going to Miami, which will be obviously very difficult on Saturday. I mean, the rest of the schedule looks nice. I mean, there's a big opportunity here for this team to gel at the right time and be a lot of fun to watch. And to a point you made earlier, there was a red card, so that's got something to do with the 4-0 win, but like it was 2-0 before the red card. And also I even was saying to people around me in the stands, like the way the team came out of that match, like you mentioned, attacking, the balls that were getting in there, the movement, the chances, like it looked absolutely polar opposite different of just the way we were moving the ball, the way players are moving, the way they were getting into good scoring opportunities, having those chances. I mean, we could have scored several goals early, had things bounce a slightly different way. So it wasn't like we just got lucky with the red card and then, kind of took over from there. I mean, this team was playing a level of attacking football that like, I think we all hoped would happen when we added these pieces. And finally we saw it start to come together. And I don't know, Saturday was I have to just say real quick, my wife was out of town on Saturday, so I brought my 2 kids, so my 7-year-old and 3-year-old girls, and my 7-year-old was having the time of her life. She was like, I never thought I'd see them score 4 goals. This is amazing. Like she's gotten this age where she's getting into it because she also went to the Atlanta match and was like really annoyed.
Nice.
She knows they're our rivals, which is great. I'm teaching them young. And was very frustrated, and so she was having the time of her life with that 4-0 win. So it's a win for all ages.
Well, for those who aren't just a little stitious but are superstitious, you know what that means. You have to bring them back to every game now for us at home the next week and a half, so that way we could win 4-0. And your wife has to go out of town to wherever she went again to make sure we win.
That's what my wife said. She's like, "Does it mean I have to like not go to any more matches?" Like, oh, we'll see. We'll see how things go on Saturday. I don't know.
So, Russell, I know you're probably listening to the show. It means I have to sit next to you for the next week and a half straight.
Yes.
So get those tickets ready, sir. So
come say hi to me, because I didn't realize how close y'all were to me. Y'all got to come say hi next time.
We will. So, interesting thing with this game, and I wanted to get your thoughts. And I know we don't have Swift here to get very tactical or anything like that, but we did see a little bit of a different lineup this game. And I know I wasn't really paying attention beforehand. I was marching, playing the drum into the stadium, and then I went and sat in the seat, and I eventually pulled the starting 11 up. And a few things that stood out to me in this game. And Pepiel, who was signed as our number 10, did not start at the center attacking midfield position, played right wing, I believe.
Yep.
And then you had Leo Abada played left wing. Carol Swiderski started, and Brant Bronico was the number 10 position. Then you had Junior Urso at the 8, Ashley Westwood as the 6. Then you had Nathan Byrne, Malanda, Andrew Privet back at center back, and then Tim Ring playing left back. And I remember looking at that, I'm like, that is a very interesting lineup. And I'm really kind of worried a little bit of what this is going to look like, because we hadn't created any offensive output in a while with that lineup, and not even with that line, but with the team that we've had. And then, I'm a big Tim Ream fan. You know that. Yep. I think everyone knows that. I was a little scared on paper looking at that and going, oh no, we're going to get burned on the left-hand side, and everyone's going to come yelling that it's Tim Ream's fault because he's going to get outran or something like that. But surprisingly, that lineup worked pretty damn well. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that first, and I'm going to dive into a few players here a little bit. But what was your initial thoughts seeing that starting 11, and like anything stand out to you?
I mean, I thought it was very interesting. And again, similar situation. Again, I'm going with 2 kids, 7 and under. So the pregame, and also
you didn't have a spaghetti map going out.
No, I won't name drop, but I'll also say that the restaurant we went to for the pregame meal took way longer than I wanted to. So I walked in like literally as the ball was kicking off. But anyway,
nice.
So I didn't have time to kind of like look at the lineup and assess it. So I saw like the players, and I was like, oh, maybe, Privet's playing his like defensive midfielder slot like normal. And it wasn't until I actually saw him on the field, like, oh no. He's playing center back with Malanda, and Ream's playing left back. This is something. And then Biel going out wide. It was interesting. I do appreciate Dean Smith shaking things up a little bit, because clearly something was just not working. And on paper, we've got guys who can play well.
Yep.
But something was just not working from an offensive standpoint. Even the defense, and I'm not going to sit here and say like the reason we lost the match was because Privet wasn't playing. Like, I don't think it's that. But like, even there's times defensively I didn't feel like we felt as solid. Like something was a little off. Again, if the attack could score some goals, it probably wouldn't have mattered. But like, because we weren't scoring, you were seeing those defensive gaps, and it was like something's off there too. So I appreciate his willingness to say, all right, let's find a way to get Privet back on the field, because for whatever reason, Privet on paper should not be a starting center back. But for whatever reason, him and Malanda together is magic. And I don't know what it is, but like immediately watching that match and seeing them together, I was like, oh yeah, this feels nicer. Like I feel much more comfortable watching this. And Tim Ream did great out left. Like it worked. And so I appreciate him being willing to be like, all right, let's figure this out. This is my not at all tactical knowledge, but just trying to watch what was happening on the field. And I'd be interested to see, because I think you're smarter than I am. Please, anybody like threads us or whatever, because I'd be interested to see like the people who are smart at the tactical things. Fawn, anybody. It almost felt like, yes, Biel was playing kind of out wide, but a lot of times he would kind of come back to the middle in the attack. And then you saw Byrne making these big winger runs out wide. So he would kind of fill that outside slot, allowing Biel to kind of come back to his normal slot. And then almost like we're playing like a kind of 3-back situation with 3 center backs. Like that's what it felt like we were doing in a lot of times. Like you saw Burn making a bunch of runs, which is great because Burn's super fast and can kind of get in that space and charge down the side. And then play with BL kind of moving a little bit interior, and it just seemed to really work. So whatever kind of strategy we had there with shifting things around in the attack seemed to really work, and it still felt very solid defensively, even with this kind of tweaked back line. I loved seeing Urso in. That's the other thing I was going to shout out. I thought Urso played very well. Should have had one, if not two goals. Yeah. I mean, the one was just an incredible save. The other one he just barely missed. Yeah, two headers. One of them was a beautiful save, and one of them was just off. He deserved a goal, but I thought he played really well. Bronico, like, it's weird seeing him an attacking midfielder, but like it just works somehow. He's just enough of like a dog out there, like going after it, that it works fine. So yep. I don't know. I was skeptical a little bit, but I was overall very happy with how things played out. I think it unlocked something and seemed to really work well.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a tactical person, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole here too much. But there was one thing here, and please, for the love of God, do not take this as me saying any of these players are at the level of who I'm about to bring this up to. But there was a player that Dean Smith coached and had a very good blueprint and kind of a style of play at Aston Villa. But you had Jack Grealish that played for him, right? And the difference in what you saw him do, and I remember reading about this a while ago, was that he let Jack kind of just roam the field.
Yeah.
Kind of be, even though he would play out wide or maybe even inside at times, there would be times when he played out wide and he would just drift inwards and kind of create this attack and creativity in the center. And I wonder, and I think this is where I've seen Pep, BL, and Abada kind of thrive the past two games, is that they're out on the wide, but they've been able and have the authority, I guess, or the ability to swing inward. And I think, Abada had a shot on target like that. He created things going in. You had a beautiful goal where, you had Brandt basically do a little flick. Then Abada took a shot. Then it deflected. And then Pep shot. And it deflected. And then Abada was able to be inside in the box and create and just clean up a sloppy goal, right? Yeah. But you did see them create these overlapping goals. And like you said, Nathan Burn was playing basically a wing back. There was times where he was pushing up farther than I've seen some more wings. And I wonder... And I'm not to criticize the other players. And again, I could just be totally out in left field. So Vaughn or Swift, whoever wants to, what's the term for threading us? I guess, I don't know. Threads,
post
tweets,
at us,
post, whatever's post at us. Sure. And say that I'm completely wrong on this, but you did see them kind of drift inwards a lot more and help create that. But I wonder if that's kind of what Dean wants, right? Because you've seen Pep play outside of that. I don't want to say traditional 10 spot, but out wide, and then be able to get that ability to swing inwards. And I wonder if that's what he wants to do, right? And see what the roster moves forward from that perspective. But Junior Urso played well. The whole team played well. There really wasn't a bad moment at all. Obviously we didn't see Tim Ream playing kind of that wingback role. I don't think he made too many runs like Nathan Burns swinging up
nor
on
should
the left-hand side. I don't want him to. But it was interesting to see. So Pat came on as a sub, made an immediate impact. And I think that was probably one of the best games I've ever seen Pat play. And then I don't know if you noticed, and we were kind of sitting on the same side of the field, so it's the opposite side of the field. But when Pat got that one assist to Pep, where he was able to have two guys on him, pushed into basically the baseline in the corner, and started pushing towards the goal, and very unselfishly, like basically passed it back to Pep right in front of the box and created a goal chance and a goal. Right, that's what Pat can bring to the table and to the team. And that's what I wonder if, we all know Pat's got potential. That's what we want to be able to see consistently on that perspective. And I'm hoping that's the trend for the back half of the rest of the season here.
Yeah. So I watched the highlights, especially because so many of the goals were on the other side of the field, like you said, and also because my wife wasn't there. So like we watched the highlights together, which I don't always do, but we definitely did this time. And I remember that goal where Pat passed it to BL I was so impressed, but watching the replay, he fought off like half of New England's team. It felt like, to get just his ability to hold up the play, be on the ball, and then like make that move to the end line, and then just a nice little pass, and then again, like to your point earlier, like Biel finding the right places to be in the attack. He's just looking for wherever it makes sense for him to be to receive a ball and be in a good spot. He was there. Patrick saw him, put a beautiful pass into him. I mean, that goal. And yeah, like, you know, Aubameyang he's raw, he's young, but like you see these flashes of him and he can be so freaking good.
Yep.
I mean, he's so big and strong and can hold up play like that, but he's also so fast. He can make these nice passes. He can finish well. Like, I don't know, like, if he should be the starter right now, but you just see these moments of him where you're like, oh gosh, there is so much promise in what he can bring to this team. And which is why, like, you know, when we were talking about Swiderski coming into the team, like, I think that's why I love seeing him come in at whatever it was, like the 63rd minute or whatever. Because he comes in against a tired back line and he does that kind of stuff. It's amazing. It's just amazing to watch. So I was super impressed by him. Even the goal he scored. I mean, just again, he did this.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it was early in the season. I can't remember what match it was, but he had another one where he like made a nice little move in the box and scored a goal. And it's like, I wasn't expecting Patrick to do stuff like that. And he did it again this game where he just like made a nice little run, had an opportunity, and then just put it right into the side netting. It's like, this guy is something special. So his assist and goal, I was very impressed by. And again, Biel being finding those places, having that attacking mindset to be like, where do I need to be in the box to make myself available for some of these balls coming in and be there for when we make a run. I don't know, whatever magic dust we sprinkled on the attack this game, like, please continue, because it felt like a very different team than we've seen in a while. Even just little stuff like switching sides of the field, like coming in the attack. Like, I feel like it's something we never used to do. And I noticed this doing a lot this match, where it was like we'd be coming on the right side and you know, whoever's kind of wide open on the left, kick a long looping crossover, get into an open space, and then drive in. Like, we were just doing things that I haven't seen us do this season or really ever consistently. So there's something finally clicked in this team about how they should be moving the ball forward that just was just very refreshing and fun to watch.
So if you're Dean, not to put you on the spot, Miami's coming up here on this weekend. You're in Miami playing against a very hot, you know, top of the table team.
Yeah.
You keep the same starting 11, or do you change it back again?
I mean, me personally, I keep it, because again, I would be more worried if I felt like we felt vulnerable defensively. And New England definitely had chances. It wasn't like they didn't have chances, but like, I felt pretty good about how we played defensively, all things considered. So like, nothing jumped out to me as a worry defensively. Maybe you don't let Burn go quite so far forward all the time and be so aggressive, but like, otherwise, I think you found something that worked. I say go for broke against Miami because like I like, you're expecting Miami to win, right? Like, we're at Miami. Miami's just cruising along, just having a ridiculous season. You're not necessarily expecting to get a result there, so like, be aggressive and just see if we can poach some goals and get lucky with a draw or a win. Like, who knows? I would hate to see us kind of just, you know, settle in and try to play a super defensive match or something like that. So I say keep the same lineup. Something clearly worked, even if we give up some goals there. I think let this team playing in this formation get more chemistry together, because I mean, I want to do well against Miami, but I can kind of in my mind throw that match out and let's look ahead to, you know, Chicago, Montreal, DC. Like, I want to have all three of those to be able to, you know, put ourselves in a really good spot for the playoffs. So,
yeah, I'm curious. The only thing I would worry about is, I mean, Yuri played very well against Messi last time we played them, and having Tim Ream being on an island at left back potentially against Messi. We'll see.
That's a good point.
That's the only thing I just worry about a little bit there. I would say keep the attack in the midfield the same. Junior played very well at the 8. Ashley trusted them there. Brant, keep him at the 10. Play Pep, play Abada up top with Carroll, and then have Pat come off the bench, try to get some tired legs there. But the only one I would maybe switch is maybe Reem and Yuri, or Privet and Reem, whatever you want to try to do there. But everything else, I think you still keep the same.
No, that's a really good point. I would almost say for that reason, maybe give Reem a match off and let Yuri start. Let Yuri start with Privet and Melonix again. Like I know Reem should be playing. Like he should be a starter, but like whatever thing Privet and Melanda have going, like we can't break. They're I'll go back and say like that was the one saying like you don't sign Reem to not start him, like put Privet on the bench. But like, and again, not like Reem and Melanda were bad, but there's just something about the way Privet and Melanda play together. I'm like, all right, find another role for Reem, which like him playing this kind of left back role seemed to work fine. Like good, let's do it.
So they're basically Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly and Step Brothers. You can't separate them now, right? No.
Yeah, no, they're together. I did have keep it on the lineup. Your thoughts on Swiderski? We haven't really talked about him. He didn't have a goal, didn't have an assist, but I mean, I'm just curious, and I don't mean this in negative. Like we've kind of talked about a lot of the other pieces of the midfield and attack. What were your thoughts on Swiderski in that match?
So again, non-professional tactical viewpoint here. One, I will be on record and say that I was pounding the chest for Carroll to be back months ago and being like, it's going to be an instant upgrade and we're going to just start scoring goals left and right. That has not happened. I don't know if Carroll fits this system very well, but I will say this though. I saw some pretty good stuff in Carroll last game. Even though he did not score, he was fighting for 50-50 balls, was trying to do hold-up play, was getting fouled to get more opportunities for us, had a decent opportunity on a free kick, and created a chance right on top of the box. So, like, he's not playing terrible. And I think I put this in Slack earlier just talking through it. And, he's not playing terrible. I know we got a fan Q&A here in a little bit around, like, our thoughts on Carroll. But, like, I don't know. It's just hard right now. I mean, he's our DP. I like Pat coming off the bench because, like, if Carroll has that work rate and is like creating tired legs, and you have Pep and Abada coming in and wearing out defensive backs and center backs, etc., and then you have Pat come off the bench and they're wore out because of that, do it. Like, if Carroll's worth it from that perspective, at least for the remainder of this season. But we can talk about next season later on what I think from that perspective. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Carroll played well. He just obviously didn't get a goal or assist, but I thought he played pretty well at this last game. Yeah,
no, that was kind of my read too. So I was kind of interesting to see because, as again, you look at the ratings and the stats. Like, he was clearly the weaker point of that. But I agree with you that I saw some things that I felt better about with him.
Yes,
in that role last match than I have other matches.
Absolutely.
So yeah, especially since we have a question coming up in the Q&A, I'll save the rest of my thoughts maybe on him. But yeah, I had a similar vibe from watching him as well too. So
I've got two things real quick to kind of talk about, just some recent news before we go to our wonderful sponsor ad break.
Yeah.
So two things that happened since we've had our last episode. One, you can share your comment on this or anything like that. Brant Bronico, first player in Charlotte FC history to have 100 matches. So would you rewind 3 years ago? A, would you expect Brant Bronico to be the first player to do that? And then two, what does that say about Brant to be? And I think, I'll give my thoughts here in a second, but just the impact and what that it means to the club for Brant as well.
I would not have predicted it, but I absolutely love that he's the one. Yep. I think he embodies this team in such a perfect way. And he I don't know. I think he's great. I'm so happy we have him, and I think he's just kind of the perfect ambassador for Charlotte in some of those ways. Like we talked about Westwood in previous podcasts as well too. Like, and what I would say about Bronico is, like, Kind of like when we were talking earlier about the lineup, like he's playing that attacking mid, like he has no business playing there, but he just has this like spirit and energy about him that like he's gonna find a way. Because like I feel like we've signed so many midfielders, not with the express goal, but with like kind of the goal of like Bronica probably shouldn't be starting. We need to get somebody else in this role to do this.
But
And he keeps being like, I'm the best option, aren't I? Come on, let's go.
He just brushes his shoulders off, right? Yeah.
So I love it for him. I think you know he's not what I would have expected, but I think it's perfect that he is that person.
Yeah, and I love Brant. That's his jersey right there, hanging on my wall right there. That's the first number and player I've ever got for the club. He's been on the show, been great in the Carolinas, been great in Charlotte. Does a bunch of stuff community wise. I mean, perfect. So happy for him to be able to say I'm the first person ever to reach 100 matches for Charlotte FC.
Yep.
So I think that encompasses his, work rate, all that stuff perfectly, right? Grind set. So two more things that I guess, and it's all the same theme here for a second. Since we haven't had the last episode. One, Ashley Westwood signed an extension with Charlotte FC. So he is now signed through 2026 with an option to extend through 2027. And you just touched on it a little bit, but like Westwood's been very vocal about how much he loves being in Charlotte. I mean, I'm super excited that he's going to be here. He basically said, I'm not going to be playing for another club. This is probably my last stop as a career. Pretty excited to have him here. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, yeah, we talked about him. I feel like it was the last podcast we did. We got talking about him and his role with the organization and with the way, like just the way he represents the club and the city and all of that. He's just kind of the perfect captain that you want being that person. I love that he loves Charlotte and all of its golf courses, and that he is happy with the team. Because I mean, he's one of those that like, whatever we have to do to keep him until he retires, like please, and he can play as long as he can. Like if he needs to take a walker out to the starting lineups and then go, like fine. Like I want him playing as long as humanly possible, because I think he's one of those cornerstones of this really, really young team. And so I would love to see kind of him do a similar thing to Fuchs too, is like whenever he decides that he's done playing, like having him be involved with the club in some kind of way and being that guy to kind of continue, the culture of the club as it grows, I think is huge. And for all the, there's been a lot of turnover in certain positions and in certain places on the team, but I think if you can have those certain people, I know Fuchs only played 1 year, but I think having a guy like him then continue to be part of the organization, Westwood, things like that, I think he can go a long way in kind of building the long-term culture of the club. So give him as many contracts as he wants. He can play as long as he wants to. I'm good with it.
Yep. And so this one, I don't want to expand on too much, but I got a question here at the very end of it. So the other news that came out today is Nathan Byrne also signed a contract extension. So it seems like September contract extension season. Maybe we'll see some more. We'll see. Not have no sources on that, but maybe we'll see some more. So he is now signed through 2026, very similar, with an option for 2027. So 32-year-old right back. Obviously, I'll just read the quote here from his extension today. I'm delighted to sign a new contract that keeps me at the club for the next few seasons. Charlotte is a place I've really enjoyed my football over the last 2 years, and there's no place I'd rather continue my career. We have a great group of guys that I want to accomplish something special that begins now with this run into the playoffs. So happy for Byrne. I think he has been extremely solid the past 16 months or so, ever since Leagues Cup of last year. Has been really, really great. And I know Dean has even been touted to say, like, this guy's really up there in terms of quality of play in the league. Obviously was beloved at his time in championship there in England. So it really happy for him. But the interesting thing here, and I don't want to speculate, what does that mean for someone like Jalen Lindsay long term? So, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but that was the first thing that ran across my mind, because it's not like you have Yuri out there in the left back. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Nathan just signed his extension. I think Jalen signed through this year or a player option to next year, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. So I'm interested to see, because I love Jalen. I want to be playing minutes, but like you also have to figure out where he would fit. And to be fair to him, he's a younger guy going into his prime. He wants to get minutes probably, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. First of all, I would just say I think getting burned long term is the way to go. I mean, like you said, I wouldn't have expected it, but he has hit this stride over the past season and a half that has just been amazing to watch, and he's solidly nailed down that position. And then you've got obviously Yuri on the other side, and apparently Tim Ream occasionally on that side as well. It doesn't open up a lot of options. I mean, I also feel like we don't have a ton of depth in those positions. I mean, that's 3 players that I'm naming right now. So like you could find a place to keep him around, but I agree that he probably will get to a point where he being Jalen, like I think Jalen wants and needs some starting time. So I don't know. I mean, in my heart, I want to keep him around. So there's a way to like put him on loan somewhere to get him to get some of those minutes at a good level to keep fresh and keep playing, because I think there's going to be a moment where, Ream isn't going to be around for forever. He's on the older side of his career. I mean, who knows what happens with Yuri? Like, I think,
and Nathan's 32. So I mean,
Nathan's like, so you've got some older players that are in this role. Like, I don't want to just kind of let him go because I think he's got a lot of promise, but I also agree that I think it's only so long that he can just sit on the bench. So maybe they can find a way to put him out on loan, to just give him those minutes in a good place, and then bring him back in, in a season or two when we really need him. But it's not like there's a crazy amount of depth of those positions that he's gonna kind of fade away forever. But yeah, I also feel like he shouldn't just be. He's too good to be riding the bench right now. So I'd love to see him get some minutes elsewhere.
Absolutely. So awesome, man. Well, I want to make sure we cover those 2 things. So let's take a quick break right now and hear a word from our sponsor.
All right, y'all. It's the best time of year. Football's back. I know this is confusing because this is a soccer/football podcast, but we mean the American football where you rarely, if ever, use your feet. Don't ask questions. We're talking NFL Sundays, college football Saturdays, and that glorious grind of fantasy football lineups. David, are you in a fantasy football league?
I am. You don't ask me what my team name is, but I am.
Well, now I have to ask you what your team name is.
It's Tepper Sucks. So, but yeah, that is my team name. So, sorry, Tepper, if you're listening to this. But yeah.
Tepper's definitely listening, and now he's gonna throw drinks on you. Sorry, I had to. So this is where with fantasy football. This is where your inner GM comes alive, setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy that everyone ridicules in the group chat. But listen, while you're over here making your fantasy team, making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine. That's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0. This is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ on and off the field. So join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. You can use our very special promo code CORNDOG, all one word, for 20% off and free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season, David.
Yeah, so just in case you haven't got one of these yet, you can get the all-in-one grooming kit. And Corey, the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is your complete grooming playbook. It handles everything from below-the-waist maintenance to taking care of those nose and ear hairs. Consider it your winning lineup, just like your fantasy football if your team name is Tepper Sucks. So it helps you feel clean, confident, and ready to dominate your fantasy league. With the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Groin and Body Hair Trimmer, this is the franchise player of your grooming roster. With precise trimming capabilities, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is built for performance. It's reliable, it's efficient, it gets the job done without fumbling. Just like if you're Shaquan Barkley right now for me on my fantasy team. So whether it's for a date night, a weekend tailgate, or everyday grooming, this is the tool that you want on your squad to help get that victory at the end of the week. So the last thing I have to say is that the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra doesn't stop at your grooming essentials. It also comes with 2 free gifts: the Boxers 2.0 Midnight Bravo and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. Premium gear to ensure that you're always ready for action, whether you're on home or on the road like I do whenever I travel for work. It's my go-to toiletry bag. Load it up, get on the road, and be ready to go. So make sure you go to manscaped.com, use our unique code of CornDog to get that 20% off plus free shipping. And once again, that's 20% off and free shipping with our amazing code CornDog, all one word, at manscaped.com. So stay on top of your grooming game and be ready for anything the season throws your way.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's get to some listener questions. We'll start with, let's start with Russell.
Good old Rusty.
Good old Russell Varner. We need to have him back on the show again soon. It's been too long. And again, I'm going to apparently find him in the next home match because I'm learning through David that he sits like right in front of me. So anyway, I got to track him down next time. Just been hiding this whole time. Russell asks, moving forward, what do you want to see? And the attack, I think, is what he's talking about here. BL, Pat, Abada, a different front three. So he touched on this a little bit, like especially with the Patrick and Swiderski thing. Like, what's your ideal front three, I think, for this team based on what you saw on Saturday?
So I think current state, I think Pat fits what Dean wants to do better long term. But if you put Pat on too early, he's going to get worn down quicker. And I don't know if you can rely on Carroll currently to be able to make up a goal coming on late like Pat can, right? Yeah. So I think current state with the way the roster is constructed, and I just based off what we saw this past week as well, start Carroll, have Pat come on 60th minute, 65th minute, whatever it is, run ragged, and then hopefully create havoc, right? Yeah. I am okay with keeping BL and Abada starting. I think Vargas has been way too inconsistent as a starter. I know he scored last match. I know that was, it is what it is, but Abada and Pep show a lot more urgency and attacking space when not having the ball compared to Vargas. Yeah. And I think that worked out much better in our favor. So I want to keep that. And then, I mean, if you bring on Vargas and Pat, that's fantastic subs to come on and have speed and create chances. I'm okay with that for the time being, especially for our current roster build.
Totally agree. I think you're right with Vargas. You know, I think he could be a starter on this team very easily. But right now, I love him coming off the bench and really, again, taking a tired back line and bringing in his speed and quality is awesome. And I'm with you. Like, it's easy to look at what happened on Saturday and say, like, oh, the goals we scored with Patrick on the field, like, Patrick should be starting. Maybe long term, who knows what happens. But I think with, like we were talking about earlier, I think Swiderski played well enough in moments that, like, you know, I'd be more worried if the attack looked weak and then once we brought in Ajimang, like, that changed everything. Yeah, we scored a lot of goals, but we had a ton of chances before he ever came on too. So I think, like, Swiderski's still good in that position. I say we leave him there for now to finish out this season. But be ready to put in Patrick when it makes sense to finish out matches there. Like, I like that move in that 60 to 70 minute range to bring him in and bring in Vargas in to take over, you know, in a winger spot. I think that's really nice. But yeah, agreed. Starter, you know, BL, Abada, Swiderski. That's my front three.
Awesome.
All right. Let's jump over to Greg. Greg asks, should we keep Bronico as the cam? We touched on this a little bit. And I guess I can jump in first. You're not having always answer the question first since there are only two of it this time. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to what I said kind of when we were talking about the starting lineup. Like, I don't change anything about this lineup right now. I'm of the mindset if something works, don't mess with it. And something's not working, be ready to change it. You know, be ready to make those changes you need to make. But when something is working, let it work. Because I feel like that's something we've had with previous coaches that would just make random lineup changes that didn't seem to make any sense. I would much rather see Dean say like, "Oh, that worked. I'm going to let it go." Because I think he was doing that even before this change. Like he kind of had his lineup and he stuck with it. And then finally, after a few games, like, all right, something's not working. I'm going to make a change. But if it's working, I'm going to keep that lineup where it is. So did I expect Bronico to be the Cam in there with what we have? Nope. But like we've said, he is like just the unbenchable player. And he's going to find a way to get on that starting lineup. And it works. So I say keep it the same and keep moving.
I agree. I mean, third coach, and he still gets minutes and still starts and figures it out, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that little play and that little flick he did to help create, I guess, hockey assist against New England. You know, I loved it. It was great. You do that with instinct, knowing where your players are supposed to be, and Abada and him had a little connect there and help create a chance, right? So, yeah, stick with it. Greg, I think you keep Bronico there. I had to chuckle because I think Greg brought it up because someone on Facebook posted, do we put Brent Bronico at the 9 and move forward with that? And I was like, no, we don't. We do not do that. So, but I think
move right there.
That is Latan. It's putting Ben Bender up at the 9 again, just like he did in Columbus. But no, I'm just joking. So, yeah. So no, keep Brant at the 10, and that way you have Pep and Abada starting on the wings, and then try it out and see what happens. Who knows? Maybe the four-headed monster that we've always dreamt of. So we'll see.
I would love that. All right, let's keep jumping around. We're gonna move through these. Let's do Matt. I believe this is Matt Nolan asking this. Is Swiderski maintaining his value?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of touched on this in Slack earlier, and I'll say this: like, there was a lot of flack about Carroll coming back for the wrong reasons. I think earlier this season, people were pissed because it's like, oh, he doesn't want to be here, and he hates Charlotte and all this crazy stuff, which was never a thing. And he's come in here and done, like, he's been a good teammate. He's been doing appearances. I think he was at Compare Foods doing a autograph photo thing earlier this week. Did the autograph session tonight at the stadium. So, like, he's doing everything he's supposed to be doing and being a good teammate. He's not flopping as much as he was like year one, complaining to the refs. He's adapted to the league. But the question is he maintaining his value? And that is the biggest red flag for me in terms, and I think we talked about this way back when, is that this window of him being back in MLS, if he wanted to go to one of the big three leagues over there in Europe, he needed to be able to show why he deserves to go over there right now. And I'm not sure that this stint is helping him from that perspective, right? Yeah. It's fine for MLS, like not really as a DP, not to have any in-play goals. Like, obviously he's got a PK or two here and there, but when you're looking at this season's records, like, Pat's our leading goal scorer right now with 8 goals so far for the season. Now, granted, he's played more minutes in MLS this year than Carroll has, but that's the only thing that just wavers me a little bit. And if he's going to go back to Europe this year, or I guess in the winter after this season, Zoran and team is going to have to do a very good, I think, car salesman job of if they want to sell him, where he's going to go, or kind of lower that price tag of what they expected to get out of him, because I don't know if you have the paper trail right now to show that this is a $10-15 million player to sell. That's just my personal opinion. I could be wrong. And watch Carroll in the next 4 games score like 2 goals each, and all of a sudden gets like 10 goals, which would be great. But I just don't see it currently right now.
Yeah, I mean, what's hard about it is just it's such a small window of time. And yeah, like, yes, he knows Charlotte. He's coming back to a place he's played before. He knows the team. He knows the league. But, like, you got to transition back. And I think it's a short amount of time. But all that being said, I agree with you that he's not really done anything to show he should make a move back to a top European league. He's played decent in a few spots. Like I said, he got a PK goal here or there, but, like, nothing has really been like, oh yes, now he's going to jump from here to name your league in Europe, and he's going to keep kind of going on trajectory. I haven't really seen it. Again, I don't think I think he's a solid player.
Yep.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens this offseason, because I don't think he's going to have, unless something crazy changes, I don't think he's going to have a ton of interest from the types of teams I think he wants to play for.
Sure.
And so maybe we see him stick around. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. But I do think your first point is that, like, I don't think he, and we've kind of shown, like, I don't think he dislikes Charlotte. I think he's happy playing here. But I think, and rightfully so, this should be your goal as a professional soccer player. He wants to play for the big leagues in Europe. And, like, I would be kind of worried if a player didn't want that at some point in their career. Like that, if you're a younger player, that's your goal. That's what you're working toward, is playing in those Champions League type teams in Europe. Like that's what you want to do. And so I would want him to have that, interest and desire to be playing over there somewhere. But right now, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think he's really shown us a whole lot, or shown anybody else a whole lot in these few matches.
I say all this. I say all this, and then watch like Fulham come in there and be like, "We'll pay you $20 million for him," and then me and Matt Chantry are like, "Yay!" But at the same time, yeah. So, but no, like I mean, I'm happy with Carroll right now for what it is, but like we'll see what it looks like come the winter window.
So let's keep that going. So John asked a question. Said, looking to the offseason, assuming Carroll leaves, do we need a DP9, or do we use the DP slot for another position? I'll go first. No, you had a thought. No, you started.
Well, I was going to say this because it's interesting. I can't remember who it was on Twitter. It was someone from MLS, and I don't know if it was Matt Doyle or Andrew Wiebe or someone, one of the big soccer folks from MLS, and they compared it to a situation where another team in the league had a drafted player that was playing the 9, and I'm trying, such a bad way to start this and not have any recollection of who it is and all this stuff. Basically what I'm trying to say is that they brought up Patrick as saying that Charlotte needs to make sure that they don't underestimate the value of Patrick, and basically this team, I'll look it up later and I'll tweet it out and post it from Threads, whatever, made a mention that saying that this player left this team and they regretted it because they could have used this type of player to help them out for the next few years. And this player ended up developing and going and doing more. Right. And Pat, I think, is in that mold of like, is he going to be a DP player right now for us? No, but he's definitely more value than what he's being paid and what the roster spend is being spent on him. Right. And I guess what I would probably do at this point, just based off of what we see of Pat, his development, I would be okay signing a veteran player as a 9, maybe an MLS veteran player who knows the league, understands the type of play going into the winter window. And then you can free up that spot to maybe bring in a DP spot. I'm not saying to bring in a DP center back, but maybe when Malanda, probably not when, but right, not if, but when he gets sold, you bring in and spend big on a defensive player. Maybe you spend big on another winger, so that way you have Pep, Abada, and a winger up top. Gives you more flexibility to be able to do that. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I'm flexible with either way, but I do think we need to bring in some veteran depth with Pat if Carroll leaves this past year or next year.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was going to ask you if we don't use that DP on a 9, if Carroll leaves, what position would you want it at? Because I think that's where I come back to is like, there's not a position that jumps out to me being like, we need to get a DP for this role. I mean, a Malanda leaving is something to be thinking about. There's definitely that, but I think, assuming BL kind of plays either that winger or midfield, like attacking midfield has always been that spot we've needed. I think he could be that guy or something like that guy short term. So I don't know. I feel like if we're not using it at the 9, like I don't really know where I feel like we need to be using it. So that's why. But I agree with your point that I don't want to run Patrick off. Like, I
Yeah.
think he shows a ton of promise, like we were talking about earlier. So I would say whatever we do there, like I like him still playing regular minutes, getting on the field, making an impact, even if he's not the starter game in, game out. But I just still feel like the need for that high value player right now is still in the attack somewhere. So that's what I would go for.
So I also would say it also helps, and I don't want to like toot the horn of the front office here, but I think that also signals a good roster build because
Mm-hmm.
now you're looking at a DP as a luxury to be able to say, I'm going to bring this in to upgrade a position that may not be a need, but maybe a want, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Versus in the past, we were like, we need a DP because we have no one that's consistent as a winger. We need a DP because we don't have anyone that's consistent goal scorer. We need a DP because of like now you kind of have the flexibility to go out there and be like, hey, like, does this person elevate the roster and the play and gives you that ability? And who knows? Like, I mean, this past year, this past window, they changed the rules now where you can have 3 DPs and what is it? 2 U22 or 3 U22 players, whatever it is. Or next year, you can do 2 designated players and have 4 U22 designated or 4 U22 spots, right? So I don't know what that looks like when they have to announce what their roster build is going to be for next year. But like if they sell Carroll, they could also change it up and be like, all right, well, Pep and Abada are going to be our 2 DPs, and then we're going to go crazy with the U22 spots and just, make it rain with youth and development, right? So we'll see what that looks like. But
I mean, I guess one thing I'd say to your point is I agree with you, but we still don't have that consistent goal scorer.
Sure. Yeah.
We just don't. Like, does the attack look much better with the players we have? Yes, but we still don't have that like goal hawk that's going to get in there and just score goals over and be the guy. And so I think that's what I keep looking for is like I want to see the guy who's going to be the goal scorer for this team in that place. And I think that's where I'm still looking for somebody to fill that role.
No, and I totally get that too. I mean, I'm looking at like Benteke is what he's leading Golden Boot right now, 19 goals. Acosta's got 18 assists. I mean, like, sorry. So 19, 17, 17, 17 are the top 3 or 4 goal scorers in the league.
Yep.
I mean, Patrick's at 8 and not really consistently starting beginning of the year because of Enzo and Carroll coming in and taking minutes away. Like, so could Pat get up to that 15, 14 mark? I mean, maybe, but like, I get what you're saying though. Like that would elevate the team from being a very good team to a great team if you can get someone to be a 15 to 20 goal scorer for the team for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
I get that.
Yep. And we're gonna do one more question because we're trying to get out of here. David has an early flight, so we're trying to get him on a plane. So we'll just do. Sorry, Russell, we're having to cut some of yours and some other folks too. But let's jump to this question from Greg to close us out. Who do you want us to face in the playoffs? Well, looking at that kind of top 8, top 9, and seeding and such, who do you want to see in that first round?
Well, I definitely don't want to see Red Bulls because
100%.
For whatever reason, they have our numbers. And I already went to Red Bull for a playoff game last year, and I do not want to experience that again. So maybe Columbus. I know technically if the season ended right now, I think that's who our opponent would be. We've done pretty well, I think, overall against Columbus. Like we've had some good games going back and forth. They beat us, we beat them. It's a good kind of, I don't want to say rivalry, but we play them well.
Yeah.
So maybe Columbus. I don't want to get Messi and Miami at the beginning because, God, that would just be demoralizing a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I guess Columbus will be the one, or maybe I think NYCFC is up there too. Technically, I don't want to see Orlando again because they've been pretty of a hot club lately. So I would say Columbus is my quote unquote dream scenario. Plus, I could use an excuse to go see my sister and then go see a game in the playoffs. We'll see.
There you go. No, I mean it's a similar thing. I don't want to see Orlando. I definitely don't want to see Red Bull. I don't want to see Miami. Those are the three definitely nots. And then looking at like the other, there's some other ones I would want to see, but just looking at the math and the table, like I don't think it's going to work out that way. So of the ones that I feel like it's possible that will end up being matched up against, honestly, both Columbus and I would throw in Cincinnati. Like I know those are two very, very good teams, but I feel like we tend to play them pretty well. Like I don't see, I don't look at those two teams and say like, oh,
just don't look at the Cincinnati match with Christian Latanzio. Remember that one where
I'm blocking things out, but I feel like there's other times we play them well.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
So yeah, those are just two that I'm like, I know they're very good teams. They're going to be, they would be tough outs, but, I don't know. Of the ones that I realistically think that we could play against, they don't scare me as much as some of the other ones. Again, like an Orlando, like a Miami, like a Red Bull. I think I would love to see New York City FC, but it'd be kind of the math of getting us up to that could be interesting. But it looks likely, if we end up with that, depending on kind of where we end up, we're in the 6 or even in the 7, depending on where things go. I could see it being Columbus or Cincinnati. And again, like we've shown that we can beat those teams. I mean, when we beat Cincinnati away 3-1 earlier in the season, like we played those teams well. So let's take on Ohio. Let's
do it.
Let's drive up I-77 and take them down. We'll do that.
We can listen to some Midwestern emo music on the way up there and Hawthorne Heights and take over Ohio real quick. So that'll be good.
There we go.
Real deep cut for those 30 to 40-year-old guys and women there. So that'll be good.
I like it. All right. Man. Well, thanks everybody for listening. It's too late. It is way too late now. So we're gonna sign off and go back to our normal lives and get ready for Saturday's match away against Inter Miami. But thank you everybody for listening. Let's hope for a strong showing Saturday and a strong finish to the season, so we have more positive podcasts to do as we close out the season versus the very sad episode that would have been last week. I'm just gonna go back to it. I'm glad we didn't record last week because I think it would have been like the most like ranty, depressed episode after the Montreal. I mean, I've joked to people like I went to the Montreal matches. I told people like, and people asked how the weekend was. I was like, everything except for the 90 minutes of soccer I had an amazing weekend. Even up through pregame, like their stadiums, the smaller stadiums, like the stadium, you can just like walk at the field. So like I just spent all of pregame right behind the Charlotte bench as they warmed up and yelling at players and cheering and just could hang out there. So I was down there. There was also like a dad and his son beside me who had a big Tim Ream poster. And I was like, are y'all, how are y'all here? And they're like, they're Revolution fans, but they're also huge men's national team fans and huge Tim Ream fans. And they're like, well, the Revolution were in Orlando, so we decided to drive up to Montreal to come see Tim Ream, which was, again, just kind of a cool thing to see people coming to see Charlotte because of someone like a Tim Ream. Very cool story. Anyway, everything up until the whistle blew for kickoff and everything after the whistle blew and the game was over was a great trip in Montreal. That 90 minutes kind of sucked. So I'm glad we didn't have to actually talk about that or the Orlando match. We got to have a fun episode about a big offensive win. I hope there's more of those to come the rest of this season. All right, everybody. Well, we enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. And David, we'll see you next week.
See you guys next week.